Hi, everybody. I wanted to go live and update y'all on the double murder case here in Oklahoma. This one hits really close to home, as I've said before, because first of all, it's here in Oklahoma, but also because the accused four people in this crime are members of a cult. It was described as an anti-government religious cult. But along with a case update, I really want to delve into the cult angle of this and how this group compares with the cult of Scientology. So, welcome back, and welcome to all of our amazing subscribers. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please hit that button, y'all. I'm planning another giveaway whenever I hit 1,000 subscribers, and I'm hoping to have merch and memberships and all that stuff for you very soon. So, and I'm going to keep it, the memberships anyway, I'm going to keep them cheap. So, if y'all feel like being members, I would appreciate that. Anyone that wants to be a mod, please get with me and let me know. I'm going to set that up too because we are growing and we do occasionally get a little troll in here now and then. So anyway, we need to take care of that. Now, on to the update. I see y'all in the chat and I promise I'm going to get back to you. Let me get through some of this and then we'll get over there and just have a visit. How's that? The Texas County Sheriff, his name is Sheriff Boley, gave a press conference today after the arraignment of Tiffany Adams, Tad Cullum, Cole Twombly, and Cora Twombly on 2 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of kidnapping, and also for conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. They were brought into the court separate in a convoy of about 5 or 6 vehicles for each of them. Plus, there were several police officers and, of course, the media, and then a few just bystanders standing around watching and taking pictures and filming. And anyway, they were brought in separately and they were arraigned separately, and bond was not given. So they cannot get out on bond. They said that they had allowed for 50 people to be in the courtroom and that they had 39 people that requested to be in the courtroom. And most were family members, obviously, from both sides. And there was a lot of people, standing around outside too, but there was just 39. And I think that some of it is that I think that people are still scared of them. There's been a lot of people in town that have said that they're afraid of them, that they've lived in fear of this cult. Sheriff Boley said that in addition to several law enforcement officers inside and outside the courthouse, they also had a drone in the air and they had police officers on the roof. And he said that was not normal, and that until further notice, that will be the case anytime that they are brought into court or moved for any reason, which I don't know why they'd be moving them, but, I don't know, maybe. The Oklahoma State Coroner's Office did positively identify both Veronica Butler and Julian Kelly, identified their bodies, but no determination of cause or manner of death has been announced yet. They expect that within the next few days. And they were found on the Beasley farm, which is about 8 miles from where their car was found. Oh, you guys, this case. I've got a lot of stuff on my iPad that I'm gonna read some of it to you, but I'm really gonna kind of skip around because you can go and find that kind of stuff. But I want to just hit some of the high points of it. But first, I just want to kind of hit what I've been able to find out about these people. First of all, and it just gets curiouser and curiouser. It's crazy, guys. I mean, seriously. Okay, so there's a lot of talk that's being done about Cole Twombly around town and stuff, and online and, Facebook and YouTube and everything. But one thing that I did find that was just odd, and I don't know, I don't know about this, but this is something that is going around pretty heavy, was that in March of 2020, Twombly's son, and he was either 25 or 26, it depends on the exact dates and everything, but he died in his pickup on Twombly's property. And it was ruled a car accident, but I couldn't find anything that told what kind of a car accident, what happened, because there was no other vehicle. It's flat. So he, didn't look like very many trees or anything. There are some trees, but I don't know what happened. But anyway, but people around town said that it's always been just real suspicious, that they always found it very, very suspicious. Anyway, his son's name was Vern, and he did not get along with his dad at all. Apparently, he didn't believe his dad's beliefs with the government or with religion, and he just didn't. They didn't get along at all, and so it was odd. People were surprised that he was there, surprised that he, was. It took them 3 days to find him on his dad's farm, and that's another thing, was that they said that the Twombleys, Cole and Cora, were gone to some kind of a cattle sale or something for 2 days, and it happened while they were gone. But he was there 3 days, so there was a whole day that apparently they knew that the son was missing, but they didn't check the property or something. I don't know. Anyway, I really don't know. I just know that everybody says it's kind of odd. And everybody around town seemed to think that Vern was a good guy, that he was smart and kind, and that he raised his cattle. Like, he would, when he was in high school, he showed cattle, and he would always keep his show cows, his heifers. And he built a herd that way. Instead of selling his heifers, he kept them. And so every year he'd get a new one, keep it, get a new one, keep it. And then he, that's how he helped build his herd to get it started. But everybody seemed to think he was a good guy. Now, again, facts tend to change. And in this case, I don't take anything for granted. I hear something and then it changes. So I don't know. Another thing that was interesting, this one is very odd, is Cole Twombly was married to a woman named Sheila, who was actually the mother of Vern. And they were married and lived in Colorado. Apparently they got a divorce, and he married a woman named Tammy Lynn. And people seem to think that he cheated on this Tammy Lynn with Cora, and they divorced, and he then married Cora. I don't know. That's what they're saying, but I don't know. And Cora was married to a man named Colby White, and he's the father of CW and also the son. And the odd part, y'all, it's not odd that people are married and get divorced and all that. The odd part is Cora's maiden name was reportedly Twombly. So that one kind of hit me a little strange. I guess they could be really distant cousins or something, but anyway. And then another little odd thing was that a local municipal judge, Vincent Forbes, was forced to resign after speaking to the media about the double murder case. I don't think it was so much that he spoke to the media about the case. It was kind of what he said. But, he was a municipal judge. He wasn't going to end up, there was no chance he was going to preside over this trial or anything. But he spoke very kindly of Tad Cullum, the one with the long beard that's the boyfriend of the Granny's. And I say Granny because she doesn't like to be called Granny. According to the judge, he and Cullum were business partners, and that he is friends with Colum, and they're very good friends. That he has been and is still good friends with Colum. Sorry. And he did say that he thought that Granny, Tiffany Adams, was a little bit out of left field. A little. He claimed that Colum is one of the nicest, funniest people he knew, and he said he was and he is a very good friend of mine. He claims that he never got a bad vibe from Colum, and he was even at Colum's home when the FBI raid occurred, when they came to arrest him. And he said that he actually had a gun pointed in his face too, because they came in and everybody had to get down. When he was asked if he knew anything about the cult God's Misfits, he said that he had never heard of it. Before he'd never heard of it before all this happened. And he asked if Colum and the others were anti-government, and he said, "Oh yes, very anti-government," which is so strange to me that he's like best buds with a judge, but he's anti-government. I don't know. And then another thing is nobody still seems to be talking about the fifth man named and being involved in and present at the murders. This Paul Grice. And several in town that were interviewed by several different news outlets claim that they didn't even know him. So I don't know who he is. I do have a picture of him on the thumbnail. He's a younger guy. I mean, kind of, nice looking. I mean, not, the others are a little out there. But anyway, now I'm going to kind of hit and miss over on my iPad just a little bit, but I'm going to check the chat first. So I'm going to actually talk to you all for a minute and then go back to the stuff. So anyway, back it up a little bit. Hef's here. She says, "Hey, beautiful lady." Hey, you too. I'm sorry. Still got this cough, guys. Dawn Gloves says, "Hey, beautiful." Susan P's here. Casey Esky Gall. I can't see it. I'm sorry. Howdy, hun. As a Kansan, this hits too close to home. Me too. I mean, I'm from Oklahoma. Sorry. I even took medicine. Mark Hardman says, "First live." Yay, good. It's good to see you. I see you in other chats, especially Cricket, so good. And Reese. People saying hi to Mark. You're following Hef from stream to stream. Well, she does go back and forth to them, doesn't she? She's busy. Retired Red says, "Hello, all lovelies." Susan P says, "That's so sad, isn't it?" Oops. Hep says, "Hi guys, sorry. Had to blink out of the chat for a minute." Well, I guess I blinked and you were back. She's catching up. Oh, hi, Brian Lucas. Good evening. Everybody's saying hi to everybody. I'm going to read you a few things about, they claim to be sovereign citizens. And so I got real interested in I know what it is, but I wanted to just touch on a few areas of it when I did a little Google search today. So I am going to kind of jump around. I've got several pages of it loaded. I'm not going to read all of it, but I am going to kind of jump around a little bit. So, okay. It says the sovereign citizen movement is a loose group of anti-government activists, litigants, tax protesters, financial scammers, and conspiracy theorists based mainly in the United States. Okay, sovereign citizens have their own pseudo-legal belief system based on misinterpretations of common law and the claim to not be subject to any government statutes unless they consent to them. The movement appeared in the United States in the early 70s and has since expanded to other countries. Okay, it says they believe that there are loopholes that can make one immune to government laws and regulations. And it's like they use postage stamps on things and write certain words on these postage stamps because they believe that the U.S. Postal Service is actually the governing body of the United States. There's a whole long description of it, y'all, but I'm not going to read all that to you. You can go Google it because we'd be here all night. It says the movement may appeal to people facing financial or legal difficulties or wishing to resist perceived government oppression. As a result, it has grown significant during times of economic or social crisis. Most schemes promoted by sovereign citizens are always to avoid paying taxes, ignore laws, eliminate debts, or extract money from the government. They claim that the United States federal government is illegitimate. And outside of the United States, they have similar beliefs, but, in accordance with their government systems, The majority of sovereign citizens are not violent. However, the methods associated by the movement are certainly illegal. And sovereign citizens notably adhere to the fraudulent schemes promoted by the redemption movement. Many sovereign citizens have been found guilty of offenses such as tax evasion, hostile possession, forgery, threatening public officials, bank fraud, and traffic violations. So then it says that, here we go. Because some have engaged in armed confrontations with law enforcement, the FBI classifies sovereign citizen extremists as domestic terrorists. Terry Nichols, one of the perpetrators of the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing, subscribed to a variation of sovereign citizen ideology. In surveys conducted in 2014 and 15, representatives of the U.S. law enforcement ranked the risk of terrorism from sovereign citizens movement higher than the risk of any other group, including Islamic extremists, militias, racist skinheads, neo-Nazis, and radical environmentalists. Sorry. It also talks about other countries. I'm skipping over a lot of that. They have also been arrested for crimes such as fraud, impersonating police, intimidating or threatening officials, and in some cases, outright violence. In 1996, a number of states passed laws outlawing the activities of these courts, and or they strengthened some of the already laws. Okay, let's see here. Not all members of the movement describe themselves as sovereign citizens, and some movement members actually regard the term sovereign citizens as an oxymoron. Sovereign citizens may prefer to label themselves as state nationals, constitutionalists, freemen, natural people, living people, private persons, or as people seeking the truth or living on the land. The name American State National became popular among sovereign citizens in the 2020s, especially among followers of the far-right QAnon conspiracy theories. Yeah, it says here that some of the most common ones that they use are postage stamps and thumbprints on documents, and the addition of punctuation, dashes, hyphens, colons, and commas to one's name, which sovereign citizens believe have legal effect. So I guess if, like maybe a little underscore and you got a new name or something. So, freedom of movement. Using arguments that rely on existing definitions and word choice, sovereign citizens may assert a constitutional right to travel. And the sheriff there said that this was one of the main things that they had with them, besides not wanting to pay taxes or anything, that their whole right to travel was a big thing that they had to deal with a lot with them. Not just them, but that whole group of people. There's a large group there. Okay, so using arguments that rely on existing definitions and word choice, sovereign citizens may assert a constitutional right to travel or a conveyance, distinguishing it from driving an automobile in order to justify ignoring requirements of license plates, vehicle registration, insurance, and other licenses. The right to travel is based on a variety of passages, some being more commonly used among groups. One common argument from sovereign citizens that they are traveling and not driving, and hence do not need a driver's license because they are not transporting commercial goods or paying passengers. They'll actually like make a fake tag and put it on their car. They'll make fake licenses. They have bumper stickers that say they're sovereign citizens. I've actually seen some, so it's weird. Here's a really interesting one. Other pseudo-legal theories commonly shared by sovereign citizens, okay, so this is commonly shared, include that silence means consent for any sort of documents, that any claim or alleged statement of fact placed in a sworn document known in pseudo-legal jargon as an affidavit of truth is proven true unless rebutted, and that there is no crime if there is no injured party. And see, this is where it comes into where they have everybody living in fear, because this is another thing they were talking about that they have a lot of there. People are so scared that they won't do anything about it when they do these things to them. And I mean, there's a lot, guys. There's a lot of stuff that they believe in, and we're going to get into some of it quickly. But, if you don't, they believe that if you don't rebut the claim, if you don't come and say they did this to me, then it didn't happen. It's not in writing. It didn't happen. Sound familiar? Okay. Some sovereign groups, notably that led in Texas by married couple of gurus, David and Bonnie Straight, have been convincing parents whose children were removed from their custody that Child Protective Services was engaged in child trafficking and encouraged them to kidnap their children. The belief that child protection agencies are involved in crimes against children is also consistent with QAnon ideology. Did you hear my husband sneeze? Okay, let's see here. Okay, the next page. Yeah, they believe that widespread belief around sovereign citizens is that the state is not an actual government, but a corporation. And that American movement members consider that the corporation that purports to be the U.S. federal government is illegal and illegally controlling the republic via a territorial government in Washington, D.C. They also said that the government set up by the founding fathers under common law legal system was secretly replaced with commercial law substituting for common law. That commercial law is generally understood to be admiralty law. And sovereign citizens consider that the current illegitimate law is based on principles of international commerce. They also believe that the gold fringe on flags in courtrooms prove all of this right. So, let's see, that goes on about that. Yeah, they it says that they believe that the current government is a corporation and that people are secretly under a form of commercial law leads sovereign citizens to consider that statutory law is a contract binding people to the state. According to this theory, people are tricked into this contract through various things, including social security numbers, fishing licenses, or zip codes. So they don't believe in those either. And legitimate. Okay. They don't believe the courts are legitimate. Because lawyers sometimes call themselves esquire. So, okay, there's a part down in here somewhere. Okay, here we go. In the 1970s, one of the movement originators, white supremacist ideologue William Potter Gale, identified the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, to the United States Constitution, as the act that converted sovereign citizens into federal citizens by their agreement to a contract to accept beliefs from the federal government. Other commenters have identified other acts, including the Emergency Banking Act and the alleged suppression of the Titles of Nobility Amendment. Likewise, sovereign citizens believe that it's a state, that they're state citizens and organic citizens, and that U.S. citizens are not U.S. citizens, and that they believe, here we go, this was the part. According to McDonald, U.S. citizens, whom he calls 14th Amendment citizens, have civil rights legislated to give the freed black slaves after the Civil War rights comparable with the unalienable constitutional rights of the white state citizens, and benefit of U.S. citizenship are received by consent in exchange for freedom. In this perspective, state citizens must consequently take steps to revoke and rescind their U.S. citizenship and reassert their de jure common law state citizen status. And again, they have to do this by denouncing things like social security numbers, driver's license, car registration, zip code, marriage license, voter registration, birth certificates, and all that. Okay, I know there's this part in here that I really wanted to read and I cannot find it. Okay, yeah. Sovereign citizens may claim that their status in the United States is that of non-resident aliens. Only residents of the states, not its citizens, are income taxable. Sovereign citizens argue, and as a state citizen landowner, one can bring forward the original land patent and file it with the county for absolute or allodial property rights. Such allodial ownership is held without recognizing any superior to whom any duty is due or account thereof. Superiors include those who levy tax property or property taxes, or who hold mortgages or liens against the property. So if you can find the original land patent, you can go file it and you don't have to pay for that land. The concept of the 14th Amendment citizens is consistent with the movement's white supremacy origins, that it can cause adherents to believe that African Americans, having only become legal citizens after the Civil War, have far fewer rights than whites, or that only black people have to pay federal taxes and abide by federal laws. They also believe in dual personas. And it says one recurring idea in sovereign citizens is that one of flesh and blood, that there's two of you, one of flesh and blood and the other a separate secret legal personality, commonly called the straw man, created upon each person's birth, that is subject to the government. Sovereign citizens claim that it is possible to disassociate oneself from the straw man through the use of certain procedures, thus becoming free of all debts, liabilities, and legal constraints. So all we got to do is figure out how to get rid of this straw man that's attached to us, kind of like body thetans, and we can be free, right? So anyway, the rest of this is just kind of crazy. It goes back over some of the same stuff. How they just do all kinds of stuff to get out of paying taxes, and they don't try to call themselves a church and get out of paying taxes, but they do believe that they just don't have to pay taxes at all. So anyway, but what I was thinking about with this, y'all, is there's just some questions that I have about it. Like, how can they be anti-government, not register to vote, and all of that, but also be extreme far right or even far left? I don't care how you fit politically. But they're self-described as extreme far right over here. But if you're anti-government, how can you be, you're anti-government, but you're also extreme far right? And again, I don't care if they were far right or far left. I'm talking about they don't want to vote. They don't register to vote. They say they don't. I think this group is wishy-washy. I think that they want their cake and eat it too, is what I think. I think they want to claim to be, this cult and that, this sovereign citizens thing, but then they also want their cake and eat it too, basically. I knew that was 2 pages. Okay. So that's one question I've got. And how can they claim both that Jesus messed things up and really isn't really the Son of God, but they're also Christians? Like, it's a extreme Christian religion. But they also believe in the necessity, and necessity was a word that they used for both good and evil. So as in both Christ and Satan, or God and Satan. And as an example of that, Twombly believes that he was put on earth by God to kill child molesters, not to protect the kids, in the first place. He didn't say that. Not to bring them, as in the molesters, not to bring them to justice, but for him to kill them. I can't say all this if I was monetized, can I? And since he believed, and this is what was told to the police, not by him, but by, I guess, the daughter or other people. I don't know who, but it was reported. But since he believes that Veronica didn't protect her kids from her brother's assault, which, according to Wrangler, the dad, he made up those lies to keep his mom from blowing his brains out. But he didn't think that Veronica protected her kids, so she was as good as a child molester. And Julian, who supported Veronica per her job, we don't know that she supported her. We just know that she was assigned to this case. But she was guilty by association. And so I guess it was okay to unalive them. That whole, what was it? That a necessity for both good and evil. That sometimes you do good things and sometimes you do evil things, and it's okay to do the evil things because it's for a good reason, or it's for the greater good. It's not what I was raised to believe. And then I have 8 points, and I could have went for 20 or 30 points, but I took my top 8 where I compared Scientology and God's Misfits, because not only is this in Oklahoma, but being a cult, and even the judge that's good friends with Cullum said that it is a cult, that they're, he didn't know the name of it, but he did believe that their anti-government and religious group was a cult, which didn't give him bad vibes either, apparently. I think he probably is in it too, if y'all want to know the truth. I mean, come on. It didn't give him bad vibes. This guy is against government, is weird about religion, thinks that child molesters, that he's there to kill all child molesters. It goes on and on and on. But anyway, so back to what I see as comparisons with Scientology. They both have their own language or use of words that they twist for their benefit. Scientology, even the words that are English words that they use, they twist them to where it doesn't mean the same thing that we use it for. And a lot of times they just make up words or phrases or whatever. But both of them have their own language. And several people said that this cult has their own language. Well, and even those reports that I was reading off of Google, it was talking about them twisting words and purposely misquoting words or misrepresenting words and all of that. So anyway, number 2, and I didn't read this part, but it's in there. They both believe in aliens and also amphibians for the God's misfits. They believe that there are aliens among us and amphibious people among us. I don't know where they got that. I mean, even the aliens, maybe, but amphibious people. So, but anyway, they both think, believe in aliens, which I don't necessarily not believe in aliens, but I don't believe in aliens the way that, I don't even know if I do believe in aliens, but I'm just saying that I don't believe that Reese was an ice cube. And I don't think that we have little Thetans attached to us. And I don't think that we have lived billions and billions of years. And I don't know. Both proclaim to be a church, although the God's Misfits does not try to get tax exemption. I'm surprised. They're so against taxes that it looks to me like that would be an easier way of going about it than just refusing to pay. But God's Misfit does have services. They had weekly services at different people's homes amongst this little group. And they have preachers. And I can't figure it out. One time I hear that Cullum was the pastor or preacher, and sometimes I hear that Twombly was. So one of them, or maybe both of them, were considered the preacher of their little group. Both avoid taxes. One legally, I guess, sort of, and one illegally. Both treat children as adults. Example, I mean, there was more than that. They really do treat them as adults. But CW was told about the murders, and she was made to clean up the bloody mess in the truck, which actually technically made her an accessory after the fact. Some mom, huh? Both believe that they are above the law. Both want protection from police and fire departments and all of those different things, but refuse to pay taxes for those. And they don't acknowledge their authority. The authority of the police, the fire marshals, any of that, judges, even his best friend. Anybody, game wardens, think of any kind of authoritative figure. They don't recognize any of them. None of them. And my last one, they are both racist and anti-Semitic. So I guess cults really do seem to just have a book they go by, don't they? Like they all seem to follow a lot of the same rules. It's just, I'm just like, oh my gosh. I mean, I guess another one would be right off the top of my head. They both had suspicious deaths, and now a flat out murder. And guys, what a mess. What a total mess. Let me go back to the chat. Here we go. There's a lot of people talking tonight. Talking amongst yourselves, which again, I absolutely love. My dad's family were from Veneta. Oh, yeah. I know where that's at. Yep. Oklahoma's a little state, y'all. So people kept asking me if deal in the Panhandle if it was close to me. And I was like, no, and then I thought, technically, everything's close to me because nothing's very far away in a state this size. It's not like we're Texas or California or, little. Those poor kids have hardly anyone left. I hope Grandpa is nice and that they already know him well enough to be comfortable with him. Me too. Absolutely. Kimberly gabbled on. What the hell? Wow. Yeah, I agree, Hef. I read all of it. There was page after page after page, and I spent a long time this afternoon reading it. And I honestly felt sick. And I thought, I'm not going to read all of this. It's real repetitive, and you can look it up yourself. I just wanted to hit some of the high points because it does so much of it. It's maybe not exactly like Scientology, but it does kind of ring true, right? I mean, there's a lot of it when you start digging into it that sounds like Yellowstone. I've heard that before. It was actually on some of the news things that it really does. And I like that show, but Lord have mercy. It does sound like it though. Gosh. Dawn Glove says, when I was a court clerk in a past life, you knew the sovereign citizens as soon as they walked in the door, always filing frivolous BS complaints. Yes, that was another thing that it did say on there, that they were constantly filing something, and that they don't think like they think that if you are buying land and stuff, that they don't believe that the people that are the lien holders and stuff have any legal ground to stand on. So I guess they can just go buy land and then refuse to pay for it or buy anything, a car, a house, whatever. I'm just, in general, but this was farming stuff. But anyway, they can go buy something, refuse to pay for it, intimidate the person who they're refusing to pay, and get out of it. Because if there's no one to complain, there's nothing there. And if you don't show up to court, the other person wins. I mean, so if you scare the person half to death and they don't go to court, I mean, it all makes sense once you start really looking into some of the ideology of it. Yes, we've been saying across the Yellowstone and Ozark shows. Yes, very much. Dawn Glove says they have their own interpretation of the law and of government. When they entered the clerk's office, my eyes would roll so hard. I feared they'd get stuck. Girl, we're the same. I've seen a few of them. Brian Lucas says, from everything I know about sovereign citizens, is they're not all there in the head. Which, I mean, I don't know about all of them, but Cora was a Twombly, and she's a Twombly again. So, I mean, that is just weird. Every single one sounded like a lunatic. Yep. Yeah, funny how they feel that way, yet the land they live on was stolen from indigenous people first. Exactly. I have kind of a love-hate relationship with this land that we live on. We have 160 acres here. I mean, it's not just mine or ours, but it's my family's land, which is what was allotted to my family in the land run. And so it's like, I love it here. I mean, this is our ancestral land. I love it and everything. And yet I hate the fact that it was supposed to be for the Indians, and, I mean, there's a bunch around here. I mean, they try to say that there's not reservations and stuff, but they're all over the place here. But still, the whole state was supposed to be one, basically. Cinderella's glass slipper says, "Hi, all, watching while eating dinner. Cults are scary, y'all, aren't they, though? They are scary." Everybody saying hi to Cinderella. Don't forget to hit the like or dislike buttons and subscribe and ring that notification bell. Absolutely, Don Gloves. Thank you. So, another form of racism. Oh, and state rights. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. When that's something, what in the hell? Only black people have to pay taxes? I mean, I don't mean to laugh. It's not funny. It's ludicrous. Okay? Like, I I don't understand racism anyway. I don't understand it. I just don't. I believe that we're all people. No one's better than anyone else. No one's worse than anyone else. We're all created equal. I believe all that with all my heart. I don't believe in any of that. So I don't understand it to begin with. But then, like, there's some just asshole people that are just not going to like anybody that's different. So, I mean, you got your asshole racist people that just don't like black people because they're black or whatever, which is ridiculous. But to not only believe that, but then to turn around and say that only black people need to pay taxes. You're still waiting for your 40 acres. Don't try too hard to make sense of this. You'll get a migraine. I know, right? It is disgusting. Okay. The whole damn thing is disgusting. This entire case. And I want to find out, as morbid as it is, I want to find out how those women were killed. I want to find out the facts of things. And then I just want to walk away from it for a while until they go to trial. And then I just want them to be put to death. And I'm not really for or against the death penalty. But this, in my opinion, if we're going to have a death penalty, they're deserving of it. They not only killed these two women, but just the horror of it. There's a broken hammer. What? And they've left 6 children motherless. And their own children. And if that weird granny like threatened to blow her son's brains out, and Cora made her daughter clean up a bloody truck, and Cora had to be scared. I mean, she's probably terrified that she's going to get killed, and especially if Cole, if he did have anything to do with his son's death. I mean, it is a rabbit hole of one horror after the other. History doesn't repeat, but it sure as hell rhymes. Absolutely. That's a good one. No, honey, the molestation was never confirmed. In fact, the dad, Wrangler Rickman or something like that, he's the one that brought the charges against the brother, and the brother always said no. But now, or not very long ago, not since the murder, but before the murders, Wrangler in court said that he made up a bunch of lies about that it wasn't true, that he made up the lies because his mom said that if he didn't make up lies, then she'd blow his brains out because she wanted custody of the kids. Not that she wanted him to have custody. She wanted custody. So the lawyers that have spoke since then have said that it was very likely that she was supposed to have court today, actually, and that it was very likely that she would have gotten custody back, that she would have certainly gotten visits and overnight visits and all that back, but that she probably would have gotten custody back. If not today, then in just the next few days, because they may have, depending on what, it's like you have an agenda kind of thing in court. And so depending on what was actually written on the agenda for the court appearance, she might have had to have had another day of court. But those can be scheduled very quickly when that kind of thing happens. So, but no, it was not confirmed. And I mean, if he did it, then he can rot with them, but I can assure you that any one of them have no issue of taking a child bride if it suits them. Oh, I'm sure. I'm absolutely sure. Just took some Advil because I had the beginnings of a headache. This kind of thinking, if I tried to understand, is going to make my eyes cross. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to take some Tylenol when I get off of here and have some dinner and just relax. I'm going to try to put it behind me for a little bit. Hello, Susie. Hello, chat. Just got here. I'll have to catch up. Dang it. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't give a whole lot of notice that I was going on, but I try to do better next time. I still want to do the one where we're going to talk and just get to know each other. And I've got a pad and paper in here because I'm going to take notes. Kimberly says it sounds like they are cherry picking the Constitution, though they apparently don't acknowledge it anyway. I know, right? That's another thing. It's just like they're religious, but they're not. And they're, far right, radical, far right politically, but they don't believe in government. And, they want to hold people to certain things of the Constitution that they don't believe in. And I don't know. It was crazy. They should not be allowed to partake in community services such as fire and police if they don't pay taxes. I know. Kind of sounds like Scientology too, right? Another thing with Scientology is I wish that the fire department or the police, but the fire department seems like they're a little more neutral. I wish that every time that they call the fire department and say that there's a fire or there's this or that, that they would go in there like they would if it was any other building and evacuate the entire building and have everybody that's in that building standing out in the street until they clear the building, because they don't want them in there clearing the building, right? They don't want them in there. So I'm like, do your job. You know it's not real, or you would be evacuating the damn building. Yeah, that way, that works both ways. I don't have to pay a sovereign citizen for jack shit. Absolutely. Of course, that sovereign citizen might kill you, and you're probably not going to kill them. Sorry. This is outrageous. Yes, it is. Yeah, let's see how well things run with that tax system. I'm going to get a drink, y'all. Some of y'all were here last night when I did the makeup thing. I swatched those 2 lip liners on my hand, and I wore that all night, and I kept rubbing it like this and showing everybody, look, it won't come off. And I went to bed, slept all night, got up, took a shower, and I'm a scrubber. I've got one of those little, the little net scrubby things, and I scrub everything, and I have to scrub all this skin that's, on my chest that's dying off from the radiation and everything. So I'm a scrubber. And I got out and I went over there and I was sitting down putting on my makeup, and I looked down and I still had lip liner on my hand. So I'm going to find that and figure out what the brand is and see what I can do. And I put it on this morning, and I put it around line my lips and then put it all over my lips. And that was probably, I don't know, 10 o'clock this morning, and it's still on. It hadn't went anywhere. So I think it's pretty good. And I've drank, I ate sushi, I, talked, coughed a lot, apparently. Federal income tax came about almost 50 years after the Civil War And there are many states that have an income tax, or that have, yeah, an income tax. Absolutely. 9 states out of 50 don't collect state income tax. Yep. Yeah. I noticed that they all had protective vests on when they were brought into court. Yeah. I saw that too. I was like, well, if I was of a mind that, to do something that would require them to need a protective vest, I would just aim higher. I wouldn't be mad about it if somebody did. That's awful, but this is the first live of yours I've managed to catch. I'm just wondering if you have sent your videos about this case, or if you have sent your videos about this case because you have info that Rabbit doesn't seem to have on her coverage of this terrible case. Well, I'm in Oklahoma, and I have friends in Oklahoma and Texas that have fed me information. So, that helps. It's who you know. It's pretty, that's pretty much it. It's who you know. And she'll get it eventually because it'll all be out there, but I just sometimes hear it real fast. And I was a newspaper publisher, so I still have a lot of contacts. So I still get a lot of stuff from people. They're like, "Oh, did you hear about this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I had a guy that asked me if I wanted to write a story because I still do a little bit of writing and stuff, and I've been asked to do some articles here and there, and I haven't done it recently, but I had a guy from one of the newspapers around here ask if I wanted to do it, and I was like, no. He offered to pay to send me out there and collect, information, and I said I can sit in my house and collect information. I am not going there. There is no way. Call me scaredy cat, but that's the truth. Tennessee's income tax is on investment income only. Most of the budget is using the state sales tax. Yeah. Susie has journalistic experience that Rabbit doesn't have as well. Yeah. Rabbit has so much as far as counseling and all that. She's so good with all that stuff. But I was a journalist for years, and I know who to ask. And I got lucky on a couple of things. I have a friend that does a podcast about true crime, and she had a friend that wasn't too far from there, and she said, "Hey, do you want me to go have my friend go get you those the probable cause affidavit and the arrest warrants?" And I said, "Sure," because I wasn't going to drive to the Panhandle and then pay for them too. And so they got one copy of it because all 4 copies were exactly the same. The probable cause affidavit and the arrest warrant were all exactly the same. So instead of paying for, about 8 or 9 pages times 4, they paid for 8 or 9 pages once. So, we're cheap. Newspaper people got to make a living at some point. So podcast people don't even make that money. So yeah, but yes, I still have a few little sources here and there. Not as many as I used to, but I do still have some, and I know where to dig. And I know my rights. I've been following Rock Chalk channel for info. Yes, I watched hers too. I didn't watch her channel, but I watched something that she was on somebody else's, and that's the first time I had seen her. But yeah, she had some interesting stuff to say too. She had been down there searching. Yeah, and it was so weird because she said that, she went out on horseback and that she didn't see anybody else searching, but obviously I'm not down in the police at all. They have really, found out. This is pretty quick. I mean, 2 weeks is pretty quick. And I just thank God for that little girl, that little 16-year-old, and I'm praying for her because she's got to be scared. If any of these other people, and where's this Paul Grice or whatever, where's he at? That I just bet money that a bunch of other people were involved. They might not have been involved in the actual murder, but I bet you there was a lot of people involved. But I don't know. But I know that the people in town are still scared. They're still real scared. And that says something. When the people that supposedly are the bad guys are already in jail, and they're not going anywhere. They're going to prison. And the people are still scared. It tells me there's other people out there that they're scared of. So that's terrifying. Photojournalist here. I overanalyze everything. Me too. Me too. I have not hardly slept for the last 2 nights because I have just laid there and thought and thought and thought and thought. And it's not like a conspiracy type theory. I'm going through the facts, the actual facts, and just like breaking each fact down constantly and then breaking it down again and saying, it's not like a what if this or what if that. I look at it like we know this is what happened. Just who else is involved, and I don't know. There's a lot of stuff, right? So, but anyway, I'm gonna have to get off of here. My husband is home and he wants some dinner. I think we're gonna have leftovers. Yeah, me too. And researching too much. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes you gotta just walk away. I mean, I told my daughter today, she had a doctor's appointment at her rheumatologist because she has lupus and some other things. And so I went with her, and we went, before we had the doctor's appointment, we went and had sushi. And so, I was telling her that in some ways this makes me miss having the paper because this is what I did constantly, from one thing to another, not generally murders, but you have to treat every story, whether it be something small or something huge, you treat it the same way. You do all the same digging and fact checking and everything. It's just that some things are a lot more horrific than other things. And there was a murder case. Well, technically a missing persons case. The guy's never been found, and we don't know who or we don't know anything about it. Can't figure out who did it. And I swore that I would not get rid of the paper until I got to cover whoever did whatever to this guy. And I don't know, 10 years later, 12 years later, they still, it's been like 20 something, almost 30 years. They still don't know. Don't know where he's at. Don't know who did it. It's a mess. I know she was a journalist, and that's part of why I was interested in her channel. But I'm a slow texter, and I ran out of space to mention because of her background. Yeah, it would interest Rabbit. Yeah, I could contact Rabbit and talk to her a little bit, but she does a good job. I would definitely contact her. I'd have no problem with that. Gosh, I can't quit thinking about it. It's just horrific. But anyway, I am going to go, and I'm going to be back tomorrow, and I am going to really, really, really try to have a nice, happy, no stress. I don't know. Before long, it ought to be time for what's her face to write another blog, but maybe I can get a good one, a good, happy live in a couple of those before she writes another blog. Stephanie. So anyway, I'm going to see you guys later. I love you. Thank you for being here. Hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Goodbye, Susie. It was great seeing you as always. Much love. Right back at you. Thanks for the update. Bye for now. Hugs and love to everyone. Absolutely. And I will see you guys, the ones that go to Crickets tonight. I will probably be there. I might be lurking and laying there like a zombie, just staring at the screen or listening through my earphones, but I'm usually there, at least most of it. So I'm going to go. I love you guys. See you tomorrow. Bye.